Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From Radio Beacon to Radio Beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
You say that you wrestled with this decision for a long time. Was there ever a moment when you were actually thinking, I'm a no?
I was an undecided because I felt that we needed to interview some of the witnesses that Professor Ford said were present that night at which she believes the sexual assault occurred. And I was disturbed that they had not been interviewed by the FBI. Now, the committee staff had interviewed them and gotten very clear statements, so there was no corroboration. But I pushed along with Senators Jeff Flake and Lisa Murkowski for the FBI to do an interview of those individuals.
But as you were going through that week, and as you were learning information, and as you were hearing the allegations, was there ever a time when you thought, I can't vote for this guy?
Well, I was certainly undecided, and after hearing Christine Ford's very compelling and painful testimony, I thought, oh my goodness, he perhaps needs to withdraw. But then when he came back with such a forceful denial and the anger and anguish that he showed, and then the lack of corroboration,
oh my God,
led me back to the fundamental issues that are fundamental to our legal system, a presumption of innocence.
Conservatism is a racket.
It is a racket. She's a Bush person, is what she is. And, you know, Bush was in Kennebunkport this weekend marrying off his daughter, Bob. So I wonder what she got. That's the question. You know, what did Susan Collins get? I would say that we all need to check on the defense budget for Maine and see if a lot of that $719 billion that this president thinks we need to spend, not on people, but on hardware, goes to Maine. That would be the only explanation. You know, it's so interesting because they asked her, will you ever know? And she wouldn't say that she was. All she said was she was undecided because she wanted to hear corroboration. But they didn't interview the 8 witnesses that Christine Blasey Ford provided. Obviously, Deborah Ramirez gave 20 witnesses, and the FBI said, nah, moving along here because the Senate told us to. And then she really added insult to injury. She said, well, I believed Dr. Ford. I just think she's crazy.
As you remember, Ford was really clear, under oath, under pain of perjury, that she was 100% certain that it was Brett Kavanaugh who sexually assaulted her. So given the decision you made, do you not believe her?
Let me say this. First of all, I found Dr. Ford's testimony to be heart-wrenching, painful, compelling, and I believe that she believes what she testified to.
I believe that
I don't think she was coming forth with a political motive, although I do not think that she was treated well by those who breached her confidence. But we also had a case where Judge Kavanaugh came forward and said, I'm 100% certain that this did not happen. So here you have 2 people who are each 100% certain of what they're saying under pain of perjury. So then I had to look at the other evidence, and was there corroborating evidence? And that's why I pushed hard for the FBI to do a supplemental background investigation.
So do you still think it is possible that he did it? You just don't have the proof to back that up?
I do not believe that Brett Kavanaugh was her assailant.
So
I do believe that she was assaulted. I don't know by whom, and I'm not certain when, but I do not believe that he was the assailant.
And so people...
So basically what they had to do was go with the Ed Whelan Twitter thing. Remember the Ed Whelan Twitter thing? And I explained to you that Ed Whelan and this entire PR firm that was responsible for the swift boating of John Kerry and these evangelical groups who secretly met over the weekend, you know this. I don't know if you know this, but they had a little secret meeting in North Carolina. No press was allowed. They couldn't get anywhere near the thing. They could only go to a hotel and stand in the lobby. The Intercept went. And they weren't allowed to hear or see or do anything to cover the evangelical party. I mean, I don't know what else to call the celebration of putting a rapist on the Supreme Court. And, you know, the Ed Whelan guys of the world, these are the ones that use Zillow, remember, and floor plans, old floor plans of houses that he identified by, I don't know, just, you know, going to Google Maps or some stupid thing and put it up on. And then he apologized and took it down. They're back to that now. So the whole thing is the Orrin Hatch, swift boat veterans, a conservative focus on the family, you know, F the family, whatever they call themselves. It's the, well, we believe her. We just think she's crazy. We think that she thinks that something happened to her. She thinks it, but it didn't. And if it did, it wasn't him. So here's a guy who has lied under oath repeatedly. He lied under oath in 2004. He lied under oath in 2006. What did he lie about? He lied about working on the warrantless wiretapping scheme. He lied about working on the torture scheme. He lied about stolen emails that he received. He lied about shepherding through Judge Pryor, the racist Judge Pickering, Priscilla Owens, the womb police, right? He lied about all these things. But when he says forcefully that this is a plot by Hillary Clinton, that this is a plot by people that are pissed off at, well, then if he lies about, you know, it wasn't me, we have to believe him, you know, because he was so forceful is what it was. So she was asked about his behavior at the committee, this, you know, partisan behavior of his. And again, Susan Collins is able to say, well, I just think he was very upset. Well, I think Christine Blasey Ford was so freaked out and so traumatized by A, having to tell this story, B, having to take a lie detector test, C, having somebody give her name to The Intercept, which I think was done by one of her friends trying to help her, D, having to be sworn in front of the United States Senate, E, being called crazy all weekend. But, you know, Brett Kavanaugh was upset. He was upset.
After the hearing that we all watched last Thursday, it became clear to me, or was becoming clearer, that appearance of impropriety has become unavoidable.
Okay, so that was Senator Lisa Murkowski, the only Republican to vote no. And she said it was because of his temper. She said because the appearance of impropriety, the appearance of partisanship, the fact that he blamed this on some left-wing conspiracy, the fact that he blamed this on some people like Christine Blasey Ford. I mean, they can't have their cake and eat it too. They keep saying, we believe her, we just think she's crazy, or we believe her, but we think she was put up to it by George Soros, or whatever they're going to say, right? I mean, this is just crazy. So Lisa Murkowski said, you know what, listening to him, the appearance of impropriety, the appearance of partisanship, you know what, we can do better. America is owed a better Supreme Court nominee. There are only 9 jobs in the world like this one, and we can certainly find somebody other than him. And we really ought to keep looking until we do. Because here you had a real serious case of partisanship, and it will break the court. And that is what she said. Susan Collins said he was just upset.
She was giving voice to the fact that Kavanaugh was outwardly partisan, talking about the Clintons in his testimony. Really went after one of your colleagues, Amy Klobuchar, which he apologized for later. But do you have any concerns at all about Brett Kavanaugh's temperament?
Well, I put myself in his shoes. he is coming forth and answering an allegation that includes that he was involved in gang raping and doping girls. I mean, that is so devastating. And I think he reacted with anger and anguish as a father of two young girls, a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Was he auditioning for, the Girl Scouts? Was he trying to be a troop leader, or was he auditioning for a job on the Supreme Court? Because last I checked, he's a judge. He's a judge. He has the wooden mallet. So, the whole, this was totally in the bag. I mean, she had her mind made up at the very beginning. She's a Bush person. You know that. The fact that the Bushes, hang out in Kennebunkport, the fact that she's, and over the weekend, I got to tell you, there was millions of dollars raised for anyone who will run against Susan Collins. Susan Rice's name was put up there. Susan Rice was trashed. I don't even want to play. But Susan Collins trashed Susan Rice, saying, well, I don't really think she lives in Maine. Well, Susan Collins doesn't really live in Maine either. Susan Collins lives in Washington, D.C. and has since like the freaking 70s. So obviously Susan Collins has become a Trumper. She has become a dyed-in-the-wool Bush/Trump Republican. She is not a moderate. There are no more moderates, okay? That's just the fact. That's just where we are. And if these uber hard-right Catholic, like super elite, have gotten you down and have made you sad and have made you frustrated and have made you sick, let me just remind you, we are less than 1 month away from Election Day. And I want to give you some news that you really can use. This is really important because tomorrow is the close of voter registration in many, many states. So it's either today, tomorrow, or in some states, not at all. Other states, they extend it for online. But states like Mississippi, you can't register online. Go figure. Yeah, go figure. You get Mississippi, you don't get to register online, which takes like all of 2 seconds if you go to Rock the Vote. All of 2 seconds, but they don't let you. All right, so here are the states where in-person voter registration ends tomorrow, okay? Arizona, the deadline for all kinds of registration, in-person registration, online registration, by mail, Arizona, tomorrow, October 9th. Then that's it. You don't get to vote. You can't change your mind no matter what the hell happens. You won't be able to vote in this midterm. I think that's very important to know. Arkansas, deadline to register in person or by mail is October 9th. Arkansas has no online voter registration. Florida, deadline to register in person, by mail, and online is tomorrow, October 9th. Georgia, deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow, October 9th. Hawaii, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow. Now, if you're in Hawaii and you missed the deadline, you can still register to vote and cast a ballot during early voting or on Election Day. That's very civilized, I have to say. Illinois, deadline to register in person is tomorrow, October 9th. You can register online until October 21st. After that, you can register and vote at a local election office during some sort of a grace period in Illinois. Indiana, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow, October 9th. Kentucky, deadline to register in person, online, or by mail is tomorrow, October 9th. Louisiana, deadline to register in person or by mail is tomorrow. Online registration in Louisiana is available till October 16th. Michigan, deadline to register in person or by mail, October 9th. Online voter registration is not available in the great state of Michigan. Mississippi, you missed it. The deadline to register in person was yesterday, or today, October 8th. If you are registering by mail, you have until tomorrow. There is no online voting registration in Mississippi. Great. Montana, your deadline passed. It was yesterday. Wasn't it yesterday a Sunday? Wasn't yesterday a Sunday? What, today is what, the 8th? Yeah, your deadline was yesterday? A Sunday, Elliot? A Sunday? Yeah. Montana, the deadline to register in person was yesterday. If you want to register by mail, it must be received. The form must be received by October 10th. It's not going to happen. So after that, you have late registration available through Election Day at your county election office. You cannot register online in Montana. Why? Nevada, the deadline to register by mail is tomorrow, and October 16th in person. You can register online as long as you do it by October 18th. New Hampshire, you can vote on Election Day even if you haven't registered. Isn't that nice? You can register on Election Day. You want to register by mail? You have to make sure your form's received by October 27th. However, in New Hampshire, you cannot register online. I bet this is news to a lot of people. New Mexico, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow. Ohio, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow. Pennsylvania, the deadline to register in person, online, or by mail is tomorrow. Tennessee, the deadline to register in person, by mail, or online is tomorrow. Texas, the deadline to register in person or by mail is tomorrow. Utah, the deadline to register by mail is tomorrow. The deadline to register in person or online is October 30th. Vermont, you can register online or in person through Election Day. Isn't that nice? That's how it should be everywhere, right? Washington State, the deadline to register online or by mail is today. You can register in person by October 29th. So there you have it. Can you believe there are states where you can't register to vote online? It takes literally 2 seconds to register online. I mean 2 seconds. You go to Rock the Vote. You put your name, you put your address in there, and you click, and you're registered. Then you can go and check it. Make sure you're on the rolls. I mean, this is so bizarre. But you know, this is Republicans' doings. This is what they want. Remember, the Republicans who voted for Kavanaugh represent less than 44% of this country. Oh, yeah. That's how this works.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
And I want to thank our incredible Republican senators for refusing to back down in the face of the Democrats' shameless campaign of political and personal destruction. Since the moment Brett Kavanaugh was named, and you remember this, we made an announcement, and since right from the moment we announced, radical Democrats launched a disgraceful campaign to resist, obstruct, delay, demolish, and destroy. Right from the beginning, Brett Kavanaugh is a man of great character and intellect. He's a totally brilliant scholar who has devoted his life to the law. He is a loving husband, a devoted father, and a faithful public servant, and he always has been. What he and his wonderful family endured at the hands of Democrats is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. In their quest for power, the radical Democrats have turned into an angry mob. You saw that today with the screaming and the shouting. not from the 200 people or less that were, you know what? Those people, they couldn't fit in the front row. Look what we have here tonight.
But we're a mob.
They threw away and threw aside every notion of fairness, of justice, of decency, and of due process. Nobody's seen anything like it.
All right, so there he was in, Ruby Red, Kansas, just calling us an angry mob. I think we ought to all wear T-shirts now, like they did when we pointed out that they were a bunch of racist, deplorable people, and they started wearing the T-shirts that I'm the mob. I am the mob. Mitch McConnell called us a mob. Grassley said we're a mob. But Grassley went further, said we were a mob, and we've been paid by George Soros. I don't know. Did anybody get their check from George Soros? Oh, you did? How much was yours? $10,000. Yeah, Amy Schumer got SAG, right? She got the prevailing wage at SAG because she got arrested. So, I just want you to know that, your check is in the mail.
What's gone on here, Senator? I mean, you've had people thrown out of restaurants. You've had people shamed and criticized online, and obviously protesters in your face. First off, do you believe George Soros is behind all of this, paying these people to get you and your colleagues in elevators or wherever they can get in your face?
I have heard so many people believe that. I tend to believe it. I believe it fits in his attack mode.
Oh, God. It's George Soros, everybody. It's George Soros. That's, and we're angry mobs. Even Mitch McConnell, he thanked us. He thanked us. He thanked the angry mobs.
Who is the mob?
Well, the people that were attacking our members at their homes and in the halls, it was really quite a display of aggressiveness, far beyond what I would consider peaceful protesting. They were trying to intimidate members of the Senate.
Really?
Not only in our home states, but also up here, actually in the Capitol and at our homes here in Washington. And I'm really proud of my members for not knuckling under to those kind of mob-like tactics.
Is it possible, in your mind, for a senator to have voted against Judge Kavanaugh in good conscience?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm not going to question the motivation of the senator's votes. It was a close vote, an important vote. I think we were able to establish that the presumption of innocence is still important in this country, and that the Senate is not going to be intimidated by these kinds of tactics.
All right. These kinds of tactics have no place in the United States, right? These tactics like that.
We're on our way to Washington for the National Taxpayer March on Washington.
The Tea Party. Everybody remember the Tea Party? Remember this? Remember?
Trying to steal my flag. Brother, you keep it off the ground. Respect that flag. Get off of him. You don't deserve this flag.
You don't deserve this flag.
Not on my watch.
Get off of my friend. Get off of him. Get off of him. Get off of him. Fuck the flag.
Oh, yeah. And then we had bikers.
Hey, sweetheart. Are you for Hillary? No, I'm saying, are you for Hillary? Get the fuck out of my face. Get the fuck out of my face. Get out of my face. Last game is scared of you. Last game is scared of you.
Yeah, and the police were always involved breaking up the fights because, the people that were in the Tea Party, the Bikers for Trump, the, Uber Cult 45 members, the MAGA guys, they were just sucker punching black guys at rallies, and they were going to town halls and screaming and yelling about they didn't want any damn health care. We want the freedom to die on the street. This is what we're all about. We want, because, the mob rules, right? The mob.
So do you want to end all government health care?
I think government should stay away from anything have to do with health care. We don't believe in socialized medicine. But I myself, a veteran that realized American dream because my hard work and 3 jobs, I like to take care of my own doctor and get the best doctor money can buy to take care of my wounds.
I get it. Okay. Well, I'm a little...
It's called capitalism, sir. Socialized medicine does not work. I am originally from Nicaragua. I run away from communism. I realized that communism does not work, socialism does not work, and the death of America will be socialized medicine. That is so clear because I came to this country looking for freedom, for the freedom to choose my own doctor, not for the government to tell me when to live and when to die. I live for America, I work for America, and I love this country, and I can't stand socialism, I can't stand communism. The only good communist is a dead communist. You want to say anything more? Thank you, sir. The only good communist is a dead communist! Yeah! The only good communist is a dead communist! You got it? Go sell that to your communist friend.
So I take it you do want to close the VA then?
Sir, if a veteran cannot work, if a veteran is unable to function because of the inability of a war wound, let's go to Charity Hospital. We welcome them in New Orleans. We have Charity Hospital for those that can't work. But I myself, a veteran, a United States Marine Corps veteran that fought for this country, believe in freedom, freedom, and death to the damn commies. You got it? I say death to the commies. You get it? Death to the commies. Are you a commie? Are you a commie?
No.
Then stay alive, else you'll be dead.
Oh my God.
Now get out of here.
Yeah, that's what we do, right? We do that. We scream and yell. And, now that Trump wants everybody from Nicaragua to go back to Nicaragua. And, here's a man who's a veteran. And, he doesn't believe in the VA. He thinks that you should go to a charity hospital if you fought for your country. He doesn't believe in Medicare. He doesn't believe in Medicaid. He, whatever. Death to the commies. Death to the commies. And just like in your face, because we're the mob. We're the mob. So let's get T-shirts with, vote blue to save America and then put on the back the mob. I'm serious. I almost want to make them. This is just unbelievable. But, of course, they love to forget or they love to distract from the fact that their members, that their voters, that their people are the most insane protesters, the kind that will grab a flag out of your hand and tell you, you don't deserve this flag. You don't deserve this flag, and make that decision for you. They are the people that will have a business that's open to the public but say, you aren't welcome here because my religious beliefs tell me that I can refuse you service. They are the people who will say that if you fought for this country or you served this country in the military, you should go to some freaking charity hospital and not depend on, veterans, the VA. If you're old and you've paid in your entire life, you do not deserve Medicare. You do not deserve Social Security because, after all, that is socialism, right? That is socialism. Medicaid, you don't deserve that if you can't scrape together 2 nickels to pay a premium for a health insurance, plan. You should die on the doorstep because that is freedom. That is what freedom looks like, smells like. It smells like bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. But when they were going to town halls and screaming down Congress members, when they were out in the street with witch doctor signs, when they were out in the street putting bones through the nose of Barack Obama, when they were out in the street tea partying, they weren't mobs. They were patriots. That was the Tea Party patriots that would grab the flag out of your hand saying, you don't deserve this flag. You don't. But I got to tell you, the mobs, I didn't see mobs. I saw devastated women. I saw terrified women. I saw men who understand that they will not have health insurance because they have pre-existing conditions. I saw, like decent, ordinary Americans trying to make a case that this man doesn't deserve the Supreme Court.
I want to talk about Brett Kavanaugh's love/love relationship with alcohol. He loves it. He loves it. Now, the FBI, as you know, was forbidden from investigating Brett Kavanaugh's past drinking. Now, fair enough. I would like to investigate his present drinking. I think it's fair. Because you know what? You would do that if he was applying for a job at Staples, for example. You would. Now, Brett Kavanaugh said that the way he can tell he's had too much to drink is he checks the blood alcohol chart. You know that chart that we're always checking as non-alcoholics. But he checks that chart. I think he carries it around with his pocket constitution. Uh-oh. You know, I have a slightly different method for determining if someone has had too much to drink. I check to see if they yell at the top of their lungs. And then if they suddenly start sobbing uncontrollably. I gotta tell you, that would not go over well at Staples. They'd be like, Brett, why are you crying in the calendar aisle?
Andy Borowitz, everybody, Andy Borowitz. I hope everybody gets the Borowitz report. It's hysterical. Every day he writes, crap. Every day he makes crap up and he writes it. It's the best. Satire is what it is, and it's just unbelievable. And last night, I don't know, did you see? We had a public relations swearing-in ceremony for Brett at the White House. That included a band and a cocktail reception. I mean, if you're being, looked at as being probably an alcoholic, I would think that, Trump especially would skip the cocktail reception. I just, did he have beer? I don't know. I hope they kept any upstairs bedrooms, off limits in case Brett had one too many. I don't know. It was weird. It was very weird. Here you have the President of the United States. The nomination fight is over. And, you would think it would be time for the President of the United States, to, I don't know, take up the issue of the nation's wounds and not rub salt into them, which is what he did last night. I mean, I don't even understand. And, here's the thing, the news today, Nikki Haley, anybody? Nikki Haley? I just don't think anybody gives a rat's ass about this, but I'll just say it because it's news and everybody's like, breathlessly covering it. She was our UN ambassador. She will continue to be our UN ambassador till the end of the year. And apparently she has tendered her resignation. Everybody's like trying to figure out why did she leave and what is going on. And she's the adult in the room and how sad this is. And, oh, my God, maybe she's running in 2020. Well, this morning she said she's not running. She's ruling out the 2020. So she said she'll campaign for Trump. And they had this joint little meeting today at the White House where she decided to use her time to talk about Javanka.
I want to thank the family in general. The First Lady has been nothing but very, very kind to me. I can't say enough good things about Jared and Ivanka. Jared is such a hidden genius that no one understands. To redo the NAFTA deal the way he did, what I've done working with him on the Middle East peace plan, it is so unbelievably well done. And Ivanka's been just a great friend, and they do a lot of things behind the scenes that I wish more people knew about, because we're a better country because they're in this administration.
We're a better country. I thought Jared was trying to get millions of dollars from some bank to bail him out because he's got a big debt, coming up, and that Ivanka was somewhere selling, block-heeled shoes. I didn't know that they were genius, but that's what she said. She's, here it is, Nikki Haley, probably the most credible female candidate for the GOP, and then she says this. So that's over. So much for that, because that'll be played on an endless loop. I mean, you know, female candidates in the GOP, they're almost as rare as, you know, female voters in the GOP these days because they nominated a rapist. You know, But this is the news. This is what's taking up our time today. That and the fact that the president went out of his way last night to be ultra cruel to women. This is who he's attacking now. He's attacking women. I don't know why we're 50% of the population. Why would he want to do this? But he is doing it, and it's kind of strange. It's kind of weird. He's calling women, you know, the people who protested the most about the Brett were suburban women. They were women who either were victims of sexual assault, sexual harassment, or women who knew somebody who was a victim of sexual assault or sexual harassment. They typically lived in suburbia. A lot of them were working women. A lot of them were housewives. A lot of them were, you know, it's just that it was just like women. Why would he? And now they've taken, because they're the paranoid party, they've taken to calling women an angry mob. This is like the new thing, right? They're all victims. Mitch McConnell is a victim. Chuck Grassley is a victim. Everyone in the GOP is being victimized by women.
The radical Democrats have turned into an angry mob.
We refuse to be intimidated by the mob of people.
No to mob rule.
It's unthinkable.
Women.
I don't have the courage. You don't hand matches to an arsonist, and you don't give power to an angry left-wing mob, and that's what they've become.
But this is the first confirmation hearing for a Supreme Court justice I've seen, basically, according to mob rule.
What we have learned is the resistance that has existed since the day after the November 2016 election is centered right here on Capitol Hill. They have encouraged mob rule.
The tactics that have been employed both by Judiciary Committee Democratic senators and by the virtual mob that's assaulted all of us in the course of this process.
Oh, you were assaulted.
Has turned our base on fire. My members dealing with, I mean, we've been under assault, Laura.
Assault.
Our homes have been, they've come to our homes.
Yours was today, this morning.
Yeah, but not just me, everybody. I mean, they've been after all of us. We've sort of been under assault, and everybody decided to stand up to the mob. We were literally under assault.
Assault.
These demonstrators, I'm sure some of them were well-meaning citizens, but many of them were obviously trained to get in our faces, to go to our homes up there, to basically almost attack us in the halls of the Capitol. So there was a full-scale effort to intimidate as well. What I think this has done for us is provide the kind of adrenaline shot that we had not been able to figure out how to achieve in any other ways. We think there's some evidence, Lawrence, that this is going to be very helpful to us next month.
Mitch McConnell was assaulted. You see, it's that Mitch McConnell was the victim of the assault, not the women who were assaulted. No, it was Mitch McConnell. He's been assaulted. Our homes have been visited. What? Christine Blasey Ford cannot go home. She can't go home. She is facing endless death threats. Endless.
I will say this has been terrifying. Her family has been through a lot. They are not living at home. It's going to be quite some time before they're able to live at home. The threats have been unending.
Oh my God.
It's deplorable. It's been very frightening. And she's also received extraordinary letters of support and encouragement. But these threats are extremely distressing.
So Mitch McConnell and Chuck Grassley, they've been assaulted. They've been attacked. But Christine Blasey Ford, they agree, you know, she was attacked. But she's wrong about who attacked her, right? So, I mean, I don't even understand that. Why are they attacking suburban women? Why are they going after young American girls who are focused on issues that are important to them? Why? I mean, the young voters are very interested in things like science and gun safety, and women are very interested in protecting younger women from having to go through what we had to go through as older women. I mean, you know, is there some benefit to telling some little old lady in Des Moines that, you know, some angry mob is going to come with torches, tiki torches? Because if she's worried about that, look no further than Trump supporters. I mean, these are some of the angriest, nastiest, most vicious people. I mean, they get in your face on the street.
You're looking at fucking me. Are you threatening me? People here fucking threaten women. Get the fuck out of here. Hey, you're the only bitch that came up and started talking shit, dude. We didn't come up to you, did we? We didn't come up to you.
You did. And I know you ain't gonna back your shit up, so don't get one of your boys fucked up because you started shit. If you're not gonna fight, if you want gender equality, everybody can have gender equality.
Get the fuck on.
Please give me a fucking break. You're a fucking chick, dude. You're gonna have one of your boys fucking protect you. So if you fucking threaten me, I'm gonna take on one of these guys. You understand? So don't get your boys fucked up.
Dude, nobody threatened you. Nobody fucking threatened you. You come over here bursting off your fucking shit. Back the
That's
fuck
right, I'm a
up.
fucking asshole, and I'll be a fucking asshole to anybody who's talking shit.
Nobody
Have a good fucking day. Have a good day, asshole.
Bye.
I am an asshole.
Dude,
not bullying you, sir, but you really shouldn't. Yeah. Don't fucking.
Yeah, they're nice people. They just sucker punch anybody that they feel like it with their fashy hairdoosies, and they get in people's faces. The little ponytail men with the leather jackets, they go after the women. And then he actually said to her, "You're an effing chick, dude." Why, the wisdom that comes out of the Trump supporters. I mean, I don't know why they're doing this, but, you know, we all remember the Tea Party Express. We all remember the Tea Party Patriots. We all remember Charlottesville. We all remember the dissension. You know, everybody ran to the town halls. They attacked Democrats over Obamacare and the witch doctor and it's, you know, communism and are you a freaking commie and all this. And now, all of a sudden, you got the Trump. Don't they ever get tired of accusing us for doing the crap that they do? I mean, doesn't it? Are they immune to irony? Are they immune to satire? I mean, you don't give an arsonist a match, and you don't give an angry mob the vote, and you don't tug on Superman's cape, and you don't spit into the wind.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
On behalf of our nation, I want to apologize
Oh, my God.
to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. Those who step forward to serve our country deserve a fair and dignified evaluation, not a campaign of political and personal destruction based on lies and deception. What happened to the Kavanaugh family violates every notion of fairness, decency, and due process. Our country, a man or a woman, must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
This was not a trial.
And with that, I must state that you, sir, under historic scrutiny, were proven innocent. Thank you.
Well, innocent enough for Susan Collins, you know. As we've learned, that's not a high bar. He was not proven innocent. He was not proven guilty. He was not proven innocent. This was not a trial. This was a confirmation hearing to ascend to a higher court from the court he's already sitting on. And by the way, the court he's already sitting on has referred a dozen complaints to the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court about him. I don't think they'll ever see the light of day. Judge Roberts will sit upon them, and he will squirrel them away and, whatever dank, dark hole he has underneath that robe of his. But that has happened. The D.C. Circuit Court has sent over. Now, Merrick Garland, who's the Chief Justice of that court, actually recused himself from listening to the complaints about Brett Kavanaugh. And so an associate justice, a woman, had to send it to the U.S. Supreme Court, dozens and dozens of complaints, and they had nothing to do with Christine Blasey Ford or with Deborah Ramirez or with Julie Swetnick. Oh, no. It had to do with his lying under oath. This man lied about everything. It had to do with him, squirreling away his documents from the Bush administration. It had to do with him lying about the torture program that he was involved in and saying he wasn't. It had to do with the stolen emails that he said he didn't receive, which we now have evidence that he did. It had to do with the fact that he was part of the warrantless wiretapping. He said he didn't do anything significant on the nomination and confirmation of Justice Pryor. He was the head of the working group. I mean, he lied. He lied and lied and lied. And the president, this numbnuts president that we have, who never apologizes for anything, apologizes to a guy who lied under oath repeatedly and a sexual abuser in the name of the rest of us, and then called the women an angry mob. Really? This is hysterical. I mean, the one time in his life that Donald Trump actually apologizes, and he apologizes for other people, and he apologizes to the last person on earth who should be apologized to. The man freaking lied over and over and over again. I mean, it's just Gerald Nadler, who, by the way, when we take back the House, which we will, by the way, today is the last day to register to vote in many, many states. Go check my Twitter feed at Randi Rhodes, and you will see a whole list of states where today is the last day. In fact, Tennessee today is the last day. Florida today is the last day. Taylor Swift is trying to remind her, fellow, Tennesseans that they really do need to get out to vote. And then all of a sudden she got into the fray there. And they saw a very, very large uptick in people registering to vote there in Tennessee. So that's kind of fascinating. But this is just so sick. I mean, you have so many people coming forward to show you how often and how regularly this man lied under oath. So, I don't know why he apologized in my name. Please, take my name out. Take my name out and take our Brett out, because our Brett did not want to apologize to your Brett. And our Scotty didn't want to. And, my whole audience there, we don't want to apologize. I mean, it's just, and this, you, sir, under historic scrutiny, were proven innocent. I mean, is he being as cruel as possible because he works very hard at it? Or is it just that he always manages to stumble into the absolute wrong words? I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. But the problem with our mob is that we're not storming the castle. We're not storming, the White House. We will be descending on voting booths. And instead of pitchforks, we will be carrying ballots. See? And that is their problem. And he knows it. And he knows it. The House is going down. The Senate, all we need is 2. That's all we need is 2. But we're defending a lot. That's the thing. And, for all the stuff that Mitch McConnell, said about, and Kavanaugh thanked Joe Manchin and all the Republicans last night, Mitch McConnell still says Manchin's going down. So I just want to know what loyalty to that party as a Democrat got you, Joe Manchin. I just want to know. What did you get? I'm not sure what you got, but whatever you got, I hope it was good. I hope it was really good. But this is just crazy. And then last night, Kavanaugh tried to, cast himself as some kind of serious jurist, But that is completely denigrated by the fact that he was introduced by President Troll Clown, by Twitler. Twitler introduced him. I mean, how could you even accept anything from this guy? It's just so sad and sick. Here's Gerald Nadler trying to telegraph to us what he will do when he becomes chairman of the Judiciary Committee. This is going to be great. You remember Adam Schiff will become the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. Oh my God. Because I don't know if you, during the Kavanaugh hearing, one of the greatest things ever released were the transcripts of the Senate staff vetting, and we put that in quotes, extreme vetting. You know what their version of extreme vetting sounded like? Mr. Kavanaugh, we have a complaint, against you from a woman who says that, when you were at Yale, you were stumbling drunk and you probably don't remember. And he goes, that's just a joke. All right, thank you. And we also have a complaint from a woman who said that you exposed your penis to her at a party and there are witnesses. Well, that's just ridiculous. All right, that's good. And we also have that's the vetting. They asked him a question. He'd say it was a joke. He'd put them on hold. I mean, to read these transcripts is it's a scream. It's hysterical. They would ask him all these questions but there are 10 witnesses, sir. Well, I deny. All right, good. You've been vetted. Thank you for your time today. And this is what they did with Roger Stone. And Roger Stone, did you communicate with WikiLeaks? He said, no. They go, okay, thank you. You can go. Now, can you imagine Adam Schiff with subpoena power? Oh, my God. Can you imagine Gerald Nadler as the House Judiciary Committee chair? I want you to imagine.
Congressman, I want to pick up on what Congresswoman Pelosi was saying right there. A lot of Democrats have said that they don't believe that Brett Kavanaugh told the truth when he went before the Judiciary Committee. Mm-hmm. If it turns out that he does become Justice Kavanaugh and you're chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, would you investigate him for possible impeachment?
Well, I would hope the Senate would have done its job first. I would hope the Senate I hope the FBI has a free hand over the next week to investigate, and that certainly means to call in all the relevant witnesses. It certainly means.
Doesn't sound like they do.
Well, if they don't, that's a real problem. It would call into validity the entire Senate process. I would hope that Senator Flake and others would not vote, would make clear that their votes will not be for the nominee unless there is a free hand for proper investigation of these very serious allegations of sexual assaults. We cannot have a justice on the Supreme Court for the next several decades who will be deciding questions of liberty and life and death and all kinds of things for the entire American people, who has been credibly accused of sexual assaults, who has been credibly accused of various other wrong things, including perjury. This has got to be thoroughly investigated. I hope the Senate will do so. If he is on the Supreme Court and the Senate hasn't investigated, then the House will have to.
You'll investigate.
We would have to investigate any credible allegations, certainly of perjury and other things that haven't been properly looked into before.
Can't wait. I can't wait. I would love to talk to, they never interviewed Brett Kavanaugh, the FBI. They never interviewed Christine Blasey Ford, the FBI. They didn't. And Deborah Ramirez gave them a list of 10 witnesses. They didn't talk to any of them. Christine Blasey Ford gave them 8. They didn't talk. They talked to 3. And Brett Kavanaugh thanked them last night. I don't know if you caught this. This was really, really, really twisted. This man is so bizarre. I really don't get.
Tonight, I thank all my friends. So many amazing and fearless friends. From my high school days, college, law school, clerking, the Bush White House, including President George W. Bush.
He sat on the documents.
From the judiciary, teaching, coaching, playing sports, the vibrant, loyal, and tight-knit Catholic community here in the D.C. area.
Oh, I told you.
And so many others. Ashley and I are grateful for their prayers and for the prayers from the thousands and thousands of people we have heard from throughout America. When I give advice to young people or speak to students, I tell them, cherish your friends, look out for your friends, lift up your friends, love your friends. I love all my friends.
So no one told me life was going to be this way. Your job's a joke. You're broke. Your love life's DOA. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. It hasn't been your day, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you, Mark Judge. I'll be there for you, Squee. Because you were there for me, too. I mean, he brings up his friends from high school. I mean, it's like they were rubbing salt in the wound. It was so It was so bizarre, this thing last night. It was so strange. You know, he talked about clerking and, you know, Kozinski, who had to step down from the bench for sexual harassment, and his guy. I mean, it's so, you know, what a strange man. He is really, really strange. The tight-knit Catholic community. I'm telling you, that's what this is. JT in Atlanta.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Hey, let me say this, man. It's so funny when I hear people say, you just said how the Trump supporters are vicious and they're mean, and yeah, that may be true, but they're cowards, man. They're just like their hero. They are all friggin' cowards because they don't take none of that fight to anybody that can stand up to them.
That's
exactly right. They go after old white women. They go after young women.
Yeah.
They go after old guys. They don't bring that shit to the hood. I'm in zone 6 ATL, baby. 6'2", 230 pounds. I can hit 25 reps of 225 when I wake up in the morning.
No way.
I ain't never had a Trump supporter say no out-of-the-way shit to me. Ever. And I begged for it. Please, bring it.
Wow.
How come Trump never goes to Avenatti?
No, it is interesting. I mean, here's this big-ass biker ponytail dude talking to this girl, and he says, you're a chick, dude. You're an effing chick, dude. So what I'll do is I'll beat up your friends. I couldn't even believe that. But this is who they are. They're just bullies, and bullies are cowards. You know that. Bullies make empty threats.
All a bunch of cowards.
They're all a bunch of cowards. They're terrified. That's why this.
I guarantee you, Trump has never been in a fight a day in his life.
No, you're right, and that's why they're calling women the angry mob. That's why they're doing it. They're trying to their base is terrified. They're terrified of opposition. They're terrified of people that believe in freedom of assembly. They're terrified of people that read books. They hate college educated. They hate black. They hate Hispanic. He feeds them a steady diet of who to be afraid of. MS-13, right? Be afraid. I mean, like, where the hell is MS-13 anyway? I just, I don't even...
Yeah, nobody's ever heard of him until Trump got in office. One more thing that bugs me about Trump. Does he know the meaning of what a freaking hoax is?
Oh, yeah, that was...
He misuses that word every fucking day. He doesn't know what a hoax is.
Yeah, I keep trying to wake up thinking that this whole last 2 years has been a hoax. It's all been a badass dream, So, but thank you. I appreciate you, JT. Thank you for calling us.
All right, babe.
Thank you. Yeah, Jennifer in Sacramento.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
I've been thinking about this whole insurgence or surge of Republican support coming, and they're calling it the big backlash to the Me Too movement. And what I actually think that is Trump has empowered all those men who in their past have done some form of rapey kind of thing, or
they are rather
assault.
rapey. I mean, Rob Porter, he beat his wife.
Exactly.
And, you have all these rapey guys. You have Donald Trump himself being accused of rape by his first wife. You have Donald Trump being accused by 20 women who say that he inappropriately, grabbed them by the P word. He admits that he did it. I mean, I don't get this. I don't get why, any woman. I don't get why any woman would, say that they could vote for him. I don't get it.
Well, and the other thing, so what I was thinking is, there's this Me Too movement, and for Trump, they are the I did movement because they did that. They did that to women, and Trump is saying it's okay that you did it. We're clearing your conscience. We're powering it through. And the other thing too is I look at Kavanaugh's wife. She's a freaking Stepford wife.
No. You know what his wife is? His wife is totally political. His wife was she worked for W. She was W's secretary. She worked in the White House. Yes. She went to UT. She's also one of these, devout believers. And she knows where all the bodies are buried. She's
sure she does.
Oh, no, she does. And she just sits there and quietly, acts submissive to her husband, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But no, she knows everything. This woman was in the White House the whole time W was torturing people, the whole time he was warrantlessly wired. She knows everything. She just, So, yeah, she's just she's part of the Klan. You know what I mean? She's part of them. She's not.
Oh, God.
She's not Stepfordy at all. She totally gets what she needs to do, and that's just sit there and nod and look all aggrieved.
Yes, and just like my husband is an angel.
They all are angels. They're married to us. You got to see the good. You got to see the good in that.
Yeah.
I'm choking on those words. Yeah, no. So, but Lindsey Graham, I just want you to know, Lindsey Graham actually said this. This is so sick. He said, quote, Brett Kavanaugh is the slut whore drunk of the story. What? So in Lindsey Graham's mind, somebody had to be a slut whore drunk. And the slut whore drunk is Brett Kavanaugh. What? Wow.
Next, to speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
There is only one party that has normalized violence in America in the last 2 years, and it's not the Republicans. Let's remember, James Hodgkinson did not wear a MAGA hat when he went to that baseball field in Arlington. He was a Bernie Sanders supporter, went there with an automatic rifle and a pistol with a hit list of what? Republican congressmen, and he almost killed one of them, Steve Scalise. You look at the violence of Antifa, they go prepared for battle to those demonstrations. The right doesn't do that. You're normalizing something that is un-American.
Oh, wow. I love their little, innocence on the Alternative Universe channel there, Fox News, a bowel movement away from what it really truly does to the news. Sebastian Gorka, the guy who actually shouts down and intimidates reporters and gets in their face, and some guy who works for a Mediaite. He decided to get in his face, and the guy was, not as tall as Sebastian Gorka. He wasn't as, big as, and he just stood up and, stayed in it. And Sebastian Gorka just, walked away all exasperated because this guy stood up for himself.
Vice President Pence is going to bump my speed. Media reporter. Right.
Watch this. Takes a shot at him.
Yeah, that's an opportunity. And you know what? There are problems when you actually control the White House. I'd be mad if Barack Obama. Because you're Pence.
You already gave me. You're the one that
Gets in the guy's face. I mean, stands over him, gets right in his face, and the guy is like, okay, do it. Get in my face. I just really, you're a Hungarian Nazi, and I just don't care. Is what it is. I just don't care, okay? You're in the majority. You got all three branches of government, dude. What is your freaking problem? Why are you always so aggrieved? I mean, they got it all. They got everything. They got a monopoly on every damn thing. And it's still not enough for them. It will never be enough until every single person works for minimum wage in a service industry job and pays their taxes so that they can take that money from you off your hands. This is it. This is all it's all they care about. The redistribution of wealth. I mean, here we are fighting for women not to be assaulted, and they're sitting around saying, oh, Steve King, he says, I was in the supermarket. And someone came up to me. Oh, my God, someone came up to you. Oh, my God. He said, and the swing voters are very turned off by people coming up to you. What, no head should be higher than yours, Steve King? What's wrong with you? You work for us. Somebody comes up to you in a supermarket and you find that scary. A woman comes up to you and you find that intimidating. Mitch McConnell, he believes he was assaulted. He believes that the women who were really assaulted, who told him that they were really assaulted, somehow attacked him. Oh, my God. No. You know how we humiliate you? We humiliate you with freaking facts.
In the history of partisanship on the Supreme Court, your decision to block Merrick Garland is something they see as having kicked off a new stage in the partisanship associated with Supreme Court nominees.
Yeah, they don't know much history. You have to go back to 1880 to find the last time a Senate controlled by a different party from the president confirmed a Supreme Court justice to a vacancy created in the middle of a presidential election.
Really?
They also conveniently forgotten that Joe Biden said in 1992, when he was chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the Democrats control the Senate, Republican in the White House. If a vacancy occurred, they wouldn't fill it. They also conveniently forgot that Chuck Schumer and Harry Reid, 18 months before the end of Bush 43, said if a Supreme Court vacancy occurred, they wouldn't fill it.
But
Talk
Mr.
about
Leader,
hypocrisy.
Right. But, Mr. Leader, I don't think that's right. In 1956, Eisenhower nominated Brennan. The 84th Congress was Democrat-controlled. And also on the Biden rule, Joe Biden was talking in the abstract. There was no nominee was blocked, and he said to not have the nomination come up before the election, but that it could come up after the election. And so what Democrats say when they hear you doing this is they say he's creating new rules to essentially do what he wants to do. And as you've written in your book, The Long Game, when you do that, it actually hurts democracy.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's not at all what happened, John. You're completely misconstruing what happened. What I gave you is the history of this. I know the history of this. I've spent a lot of time on this throughout my career. What I did was entirely consistent with what the history of the Senate's been in that situation going back to 1880.
Well, I think the 1956 example, and also in 1968, later in the election cycle, when a Democratic president put somebody forward, the Republican leader worked with him to get that person a hearing and get him towards the Supreme Court, which is not something that you did. A vote at the time.
Then there was a Democrat. Then there was a Democrat in the White House and a Democratic Senate.
But the Republican leader at the time tried to help the Democratic president.
John, you are not listening to me. The history is exactly as I told you.
Well, we have a disagreement about the history, but I greatly appreciate you being with us here today.
You are not listening to what I told you. You are not listening to what I told you. What is he trying to hypnotize him? He's trying to hypnotize him. This droid is not the droid you're looking for. What? He's trying to do like some sort of a Jedi mind, trick. This is unbelievable. 1988, you don't even have to go back that far. 1988, Ronald Reagan was the Republican president, had a Democratic Senate, and he nominated in an election year a Supreme Court justice who the Democrats confirmed. You know who that was? Know who that was? That was Anthony Kennedy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pressure of a name. It's always pressure. All right, Reggie in Decatur.
Hey, happy Tuesday to you, Randy. Long time no hear from.
Oh, well, I don't call you.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, why is it that we have certain conservative women, female conservative women like us, such as Susan Collins, defending, and, of course, the usual prime suspects of talk radio and Fox News channel, as you said, a bowel movement away from what it really does to news, or as opposed to what it really truly does to news, and the Fox bots on there defending this man, Brett Kavanaugh, so that he can have his confirmation as the next Senate judge fully secured. I mean, why are they defending people like or such as him and not standing up against them?
Don't make me argue their case, because I have no idea why they picked. I mean, I know why Trump picked him. I know why Trump nominated him, because this guy believes in complete unfettered presidential power. He's the kind of guy that believes that the president can just simply say national security and can lock your ass up. That's what he believes.
Right. But they're defending guys like him. I mean, I'm talking about women
because
like
they love the idea of being able to lock up dissidents. They love the idea of autocracy. They love the idea of gerrymandered maps forever. They love the idea of not being, able to vote in a meaningful way. They don't believe in one man, one vote. They believe in gerrymandered districts. They believe that 13% of the population ought to have the same representation. What do you got? You got 1.8 million people living in West Virginia. No offense, West Virginia. You know I'm on your side. But you got 1.8 million people living in West Virginia. In New York City alone, you got 9 million people. And we get the same representation, 2 senators? Really? How is that one man, one vote? They love this. They love this.
Right. So all they want is one true universal dictatorial tyrannical rule.
Oh my God, Trump he's in love with autocrats. He said he fell in love with Kim Jong-un. He literally said he fell in love with him. You have Vladimir Putin inserting himself into this election. Now there's another story about how Paul Manafort and Rick Gates, who are now cooperating with Robert Mueller, went to the Israelis and asked the Israelis, a private defense contractor who, hires former Israeli Mossad agents to give him proposals about how to pretend to be, real people on social media and inundate the delegates at the convention because they weren't going to choose Donald Trump. So they went out and they started saying, we need to inundate them with social media. We need to target them. We need to have fake accounts. We need to have fake social media presence. We need to, honestly, they have never met a foreign government that they wouldn't work with that was uber right-wing, that they wouldn't take, their help in a presidential election. It's a sick administration, this administration. You look at everything that we were able to accomplish, in the Obama years. People just, don't remember. They don't remember that we did banking rules. They don't remember that we did, student loan relief. They don't remember that we had comprehensive immigration reform, but that the Republicans wouldn't even put it on the floor in the House, right? Because you had Boner back then, and he wouldn't even introduce it. If they didn't block Merrick Garland, we would have a Democratic Supreme Court majority right now. These people are bizarre. They are so bizarre, and they keep ripping people's democracy away from them. Now they're against freedom of assembly because a bunch of women want to be heard. And so that's a bad thing. The press is a bad thing. Freedom of the press, that's got to go. They're not interested in, $15 minimum wage. They're interested in victimhood. They're interested in being a party of grievance. They got the House, they got the Senate, they got the presidency, and they can't come up with an infrastructure plan. They can't come up with, a minimum wage increase. They can't come up with justice reform. They can't get the corruption out of government. Come on.
Right. So what you're saying, in other words, Randy, is that these people want to dominate the whole entire world
because all they care about is redistributing the wealth of this country to them to themselves and their donors. That's it. That's all that matters, is taking your money and giving it to them. Now, look, that's what Trump did. Trump inherited, we now know, $413 million. Some self-made man, huh? What a con man. What a P.T. Barnum. But we know that that's true now. And instead of paying 55% on the inheritance, he paid 5%, which means we got stiffed. And now he's got all these pass-through companies, and they legislate so he will never have to pay taxes. But we do. It's sick. It's a sick system.
Right, and
it's rigged, for lack of a better word. The whole thing is rigged.
Right. So both Brett Kavanaugh and Donald J. Trump are but mere overgrown bullies with anger management and temperamental problems. Remember what he did to Dr. Ford, Brett Kavanaugh, when she asked him about his drinking problem, about his alcoholism, and he blew up. He exploded into her face.
Oh, you mean Amy Klobuchar?
Yeah, Amy Klobuchar. Yeah, he blew up in her face.
He did it to everybody. Anybody. Yeah. He lied to Sheldon Whitehouse. He challenged Amy Klobuchar about, do you have a drinking problem? It was the sickest thing. Richard Blumenthal, he said the same. What do you like to drink, Senator? What do you like to drink?
Right.
This is a child. This is a man-child.
So it's Lindsey Graham who was clutching his pearls, saying that the Democrats tried to destroy this.
I can't believe he actually said Brett Kavanaugh. This is a quote. Brett Kavanaugh is the slut, whore, drunk of the story in this Supreme Court nomination. Asked whether sexual assault survivors would be more reluctant to come forward because Kavanaugh was confirmed despite allegations by Christine Blasey Ford, Graham said he didn't believe so because Ford was treated well. He said he had prosecuted rape cases and defended people accused of sexual violence and sat as a judge. I don't know where he did all this. I guess as a JAG reservist. I don't know. But he said, I've tried to look at this thing through a process that stood the test of time. Some standards, some presumptions, some evidentiary requirements. There were no evidentiary. This was not a trial. I don't know what he said because all I can say is that seldom do you advance justice by creating an injustice, and I think it would have been unjust for Judge Kavanaugh to have his life ruined based on the allegations. He dismissed claims against Kavanaugh as outrageous and making no sense. He said that in this story, Brett Kavanaugh is the slut, whore, drunk.
Right.
Why does anybody have to be a slut, whore, drunk?
I don't know. But and Brett Kavanaugh saying that this was nothing more than pure revenge from and by the Clintons. You know?
Oh, please.
That's what he said.
Yeah, you know why he said that? Because Brett Kavanaugh has the dirtiest mind of anybody you've ever come across, this little choir boy. He's the one that wrote some really sick and twisted questions when he worked with Ken Starr, who was prosecuting Bill Clinton, right, in the Paula Jones civil case. And Brett Kavanaugh literally wrote these questions that said things like, if Monica Lewinsky said that you jerked off into a trash can in front of her, would she be lying? This little choir boy had some very pornographic thoughts in his head about what the president and did you use implements to penetrate her? And if she said it was a cigar, would she be lying? I mean, he's the one that put all these stories out there. This little choir boy.
Right.
Now you know why? Because he's been twisted since high school.
Yeah, and they always keep bringing up the Democratic past.
Oh, please.
Yeah, every time their Republican sexual past comes up, they want to deflect and bring up Democratic past, like Bill Clinton or Chappaquiddick, of course.
Well, Bill Clinton was actually impeached, okay, gotta say. And, Al Franken actually resigned.
Right.
Because Susan Collins demanded that he resign.
Mm-hmm.
And here you have Donald Trump admitting that he can do anything he wants to women. He just starts kissing them, he pops Tic Tacs, and then he can grab them by the P word. And she has no problem with that. But she does have a problem with Al Franken taking a joke picture. Oh, that he's got to resign. I mean, these people are great. And when we have Democrats that do these things, like when we found out that, what's his name, from Detroit, the old man, when we found out that he was playing grab ass, we made him resign.
Right.
I mean, we police our own, that's for sure. You got, what's his name? Eric Schneiderman in New York, a Democrat. We made him resign. Got a long list of people that we said, no, we don't tolerate this from you or anybody else. You got to go. And they went. But these people, oh my God, they blame the women. They got it all, and it's still not enough. They have to blame housewives. They have to blame, women who have been assaulted. This is a sick message. This is a twisted administration. The sexual assault survivors who really, wanted to be heard and came to Capitol Hill, like the girls that confronted Jeff Flake in the elevator. They weren't violent. They were almost in tears, but they actually asked him, you, sir, are going to put somebody that's assaulted a woman on the Supreme Court? What are you doing, sir?
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
The task is extremely urgent, and it's something that scientists all agree on.
The world's scientists issue an alarming report warning we are almost out of time to act on global warming. And speaking of which,
this storm will be life-threatening and extremely dangerous.
Florida, Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas brace for Hurricane Michael.
All of those bracing stories and more straight ahead from BradBlog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Dear young people,
don't vote.
Don't vote.
Everything's fine the way it is.
Trump. That was us.
He's our guy.
Tax cuts for the rich? Hell yeah. I'm rich as fuck.
Climate change? That's a you problem. I'll be dead soon. Sure, school shootings are sad.
But I haven't been in a school for 50 years.
I can't keep track of which lives matter.
Sure you don't like it. So, you'll like some meme on Instagram.
If the weather is nice, maybe you could go to one of those little marches.
You might even share this video on Facebook.
But you won't vote.
You young people never do.
But I do. I do.
I do. Midterms, primaries.
Every single election.
We'll be there, but you won't.
Because we're a generation of doers.
Not whiners.
And we're doing great.
Oh! Seriously. seriously, get out there. I have Taylor Swift is telling you to do it. It must be very important because she only deals with, clothes, hair, and important things. So seriously, this is what you have to do is you have to talk these kids into it because I will tell you, Jessica works out in the flyover states. She's always traveling. She's never in one place very long. And she's telling me that, she's crew on MTV. And she works on a whole bunch of shows like, Teen Mom OG, Teen Mom SG. And they are out in the hinterlands. And these kids don't think it matters. They say it doesn't matter. She keeps trying to register them. She keeps trying to show them that they could go to Rock the Vote and register in 2 minutes. And they keep saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who we vote for. It really doesn't matter who we vote for. And that's insane. That is insane, okay? That makes no sense to me because here's the dirty little secret. On November 6th, this year, okay, falls on November 6th, but on Election Day, it is the only day that you have the same amount of power as those rich old white fucks, okay? It is the only day that you have that power that they enjoy every single minute of the day. Because here's the little cycle we're in, okay? This is what goes on. Our president likes to make you pay taxes, and then he likes to take that money and he likes to give it to very wealthy donors. He likes to give them your money, and then they give back to him. That's what's going on here. Protecting donors. That's all that goes on here. You really think that there's any other plan that the GOP has ever had that about your money? They've never had a different plan than that. It's always about satisfying the donors, and it's always been the donors need money. The donors want money. The donors want your money, and they want more of your money. They want to pay you less and take more. That's why your work is taxed at a higher rate than their capital gains, than their stocks, than their. I mean, every year they can carry their interest forward, meaning they never pay any tax on the interest their money makes. They don't pay any. They just push it to the next year, and then the next year they push it to the year after that, and then the year after that they push it to the year after that, and they just end up paying zero. Meanwhile, you keep paying. You can't cheat. You get a W-2. You get a W-9. You get a K-1 if you own your own business. And the number is the number. And that's what you're going to pay taxes on. Maybe you could take a percentage, of your mortgage interest, or you could take a percentage of your property taxes if you're lucky to be a homeowner. Other than that, I mean, honestly, whatever is on that form, that's what you're going to pay taxes on. This is a sick system, and it's broken. And the deficits are through the roof because this is what they do. You pay into the Treasury, and then they give out more than the Treasury takes in. And where does the money go? It goes to the richest people in this country. Our deficit is going to be roughly $1 trillion by 2019. It's 2018. The interest that we owe on that debt is going to triple in the next 10 years. It will be, just the interest will be $1 trillion a year, and this is according to the Congressional Budget Office. Quote, the current debt trajectory is already quite onerous. If you keep increasing supply of bonds, of treasuries, and the size of the auction, this is where they auction off the debt, right? There is a point where the bond market is going to say thanks, but no thanks. Meaning no one will buy our debt, and you'll be stuck paying for it. Or Trump will bankrupt this country. And bankruptcy is what he loves. He knows how to make money in bankruptcy. You don't. I don't. But he does. And he will always make money by losing. He is the ultimate loser. 6 bankruptcies. I mean, this is just crazy. And so what does he need to do? He needs to distract you from that fact. He needs to distract you from the fact that there is absolutely nothing he is willing or able to, well, he's able, he's just not willing to do on healthcare, on wages and increasing them, on, making the tax code fairer, taxing, money made off of money at a greater rate than money made off of labor, which is what the, Democrats are about. The Democrats are about a much fairer tax system. And we understand that there's this gigantic wealth gap, and we get that this tax scheme of his was just to increase that wealth gap even further, and it has. And it has. So what does he do? He goes to the newspaper. He hires somebody, or tells somebody on his staff, write an op-ed about how the Democrats want to kill Medicare because health care seems to be a major concern. You know why health care is a major concern? Because our wages have increased a whopping 2%, but health care costs have increased if you're an individual 3%, meaning you're falling behind. But if you have a family plan, then your healthcare costs have increased 5%. So if your wages are increasing by 2 and your costs are increasing by 5, it's pretty easy to see you're falling behind. And people know this. So he wrote this bullcrap op-ed. Let me just tell you what the fact checker found today in the new. I mean, it's PolitiFact, it's factcheck.org, it's everybody that checks facts. They said President Trump wrote an opinion piece for USA Today regarding proposals to expand Medicare to all Americans, known as Medicare for All, in which almost every sentence contained a misleading statement or falsehood. That's how the fact check starts, and it goes on for 10 pages. It says many of these claims have already been debunked. Presumably, the president is aware of fact checks. He links to some of them, but chose to ignore the facts in service of a campaign-style op-ed. Medicare for All is a complex subject, and serious questions should be raised about the cost and how the transition from today's healthcare system would be financed and how it would look and how many years it would take. But this is not a serious effort to debate the issue. So as a service to our readers, we offer a guide through Trump's rhetoric. And they debunk sentence by sentence everything he wrote. He wrote, throughout the year, we have seen Democrats across the country uniting around a new legislative proposal that would end Medicare as we know it and take away benefits that seniors have paid for their entire lives. What we're talking about is moving away from a hodgepodge healthcare system, which is now what we have, to a healthcare system that is exactly what people over 65 enjoy. Bernie Sanders' plan actually improves Medicare for seniors and the disabled. How does it do that? It eliminates deductibles. Yeah, no deductibles. So your plan doesn't kick in after you've paid $10,000 out of pocket. No deductibles. Your plan is your plan, and it starts paying when you need it. It also adds dental, vision, and hearing aids, which, by the way, I know this because my mother is 88 years old, and she's always like, what? I can't hear you on this. My mother has a hearing aid. It costs $4,000. My mother's on a fixed income. Therefore, the children pay, and I'm the only child, okay? I'm the only one left. So this is what he wanted to do, cover dental, vision, and hearing aids, which is very important for seniors. And they're not covered under the current law. And then over the course of 4 years, the eligibility age for Medicare gets lowered in stages until every American is covered. Therefore, Medicare for All actually improves benefits for seniors. It doesn't take them away. And there are other versions, too. We have the more limited one. Remember when we were trying to debate Obamacare, there was Medicare for All, which I was for. And then there was another one which wasn't as good, but it was good, called a public option, where you could choose. Did you want to pay a private insurance carrier, or did you want to buy into Medicare? It's called, the public option, Medicare X sometimes. It offers Medicare as an option. You can buy in. The Kaiser Family Foundation compared the two plans, and, they said they're both viable. And they would save, by the way, Medicare for All would save, over 10 years, $2 trillion. So, in Trump world, that would pay the interest on the deficit that he ran up for 2 years. Just saying. Then he says, I also made a solemn promise to our great seniors to protect Medicare. That is why I'm fighting so hard against the Democrats' plan that would eviscerate Medicare. Part A of Medicare is financed through payroll taxes, 1.45% on earnings. That is paid by you, the worker, and me, the employer. Self-employed people pay full freight. They pay about 3%, 2.9%. And that money that is raised goes to a trust fund, a pay-as-you-go trust fund. And it pays Medicare beneficiaries. Here's what's happening. You got 10,000 people a day, baby boomers, 10,000 people a day retiring, coming out of the workforce. And that puts pressure on the long-term financing. So if the trust fund is depleted, that means that the government can't cover 100% of the expenses. Yet because of the Trump tax cut, the budget deficit is soaring even as the economy is growing. If you compare now, today, with other periods, I know he lies and says he's never seen anything like this, but it's not true. If you compare today's growth rate with other periods of, if you compare today's unemployment rate with other periods of under 4% unemployment, that means that the government, because of the debt and the service on the debt, is less prepared to deal with the baby boomers' Medicare. He's the one that's starving Medicare. Then the next sentence, he said, Democrats have already harmed seniors by slashing Medicare by more than $800 billion over 10 years to pay for Obamacare. Obamacare, also lovingly known as the ACA, shored up Medicare because it cut expenses, meaning we reduced the payments we used to make to these Medicare Advantage plans where you'd get a free gym membership or a free pair of sneakers, remember? And I was totally against those plans. We literally saved $86 billion in reduced payments to the Medicare Advantage plans. Also, the law included a 0.9% payroll tax of wealthier Americans, people who make above $250,000, $200,000 if you're a single, $250,000 if you're a couple, and it raised an additional $63 billion for the Part A trust fund between 2010 and now. It also cut expenses, including $162 billion in provider payments, and the net result was that Medicare was shored up and the lifespan of it was extended for another 12 years. This is all lying, okay? This is just lying. In other words, the savings that Trump complains about, the $800 million that he thinks was cut out, $1 billion, sorry, was cut out from providers, not from beneficiaries. Beneficiaries were the beneficiaries. The providers were the ones that had to foot that bill. Because the ACA actually ended up providing preventative care and prescription drugs. And the $800 billion in reductions in Medicare in the ACA that Trump complains about are the law of the land. And then the Democrats' plan means that after a life of hard work and sacrifice, seniors would no longer be able to depend on the benefits they were promised. Again, see point one. Bernie Sanders' plan, for instance, the Kaiser Family Foundation actually said it would expand benefits to seniors. This whole thing is a lie, everything about it. And then this thing about Venezuela, can I just point out that Venezuela has been collapsing for years under the yoke of a near dictatorship? The squandering of their oil wealth, meaning that they were siphoning the wealth that they were supposed to be putting into their treasury and giving it to oligarchs, just like we do here with our treasury. It's very similar. They're the ones that have structured us like Venezuela. I am unaware of any Democratic leader that has ever said we need to be more like Venezuela or Venezuela is our economic model. But I know a lot of Republicans who say, hey, look at Russia and the oligarch's success. Hey, look at Venezuela and the oligarch's success. Hey, look at Poland. Hey, look at... And we need to model ourselves more like them. Look at President Xi, dictator for life. I mean, I would love to be the president for life. I mean, you know, there is a party that actually worships Duterte and Venezuela and Russia and oligarchy. Not us, okay? I mean, this man is just obviously the only saving grace about this particular op-ed is his supporters don't read. And this president didn't write it because he doesn't write or read.
Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Hillary Clinton herself has said it's time for us to be aggressive. We'll lay back and be civil once we take the House. And if she's suggesting violence, I don't think she's actually suggesting violence, but people will interpret her words as suggesting violence. We're going to see more of this.
They know what they're saying.
Of course they know what they're saying.
They doggone well know what they're saying.
It's a dog whistle.
Use your phrase.
To borrow a word that has been thrown at the right, that anything that President Trump says and any Republican, it's a dog whistle to white supremacists and racists. Well, this is a dog whistle as a call to arms.
Yes.
And I don't think that we're overstating.
You're right.
Given the fact that people have been targeted over and over again in restaurants, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Kirstjen Nielsen, Ted Cruz, you name it. Again, we've heard this from the likes of Maxine Waters and many operatives in the Democratic Party, many left-wing nuts, we're coming for you at your home, at your job, where you eat, where you sleep, where you worship.
If this happens on public property or on private property that receives federal funds, the Supreme Court has condemned what's called the heckler's veto, meaning the crowd cannot silence the speaker, and the police have a duty to make sure the speaker can speak. If it happens on private property like a restaurant, it's up to the owner of the restaurant. Any restaurant owner that would permit this to happen probably should be out of business. How they let this happen to Ted Cruz is beyond me. But Stanford...
Ted Cruz, how about Sarah Sanders being thrown out of a restaurant? How about so many others?
But the court has not ruled on that because it's private property. But a place like Stanford University, technically private but open to the public, the heckler, the crowd, cannot silence or punish the speaker, and the police have an affirmative obligation to make sure that doesn't happen.
Oh, they're going to call the police on us now. They're going to call the police because we have the temerity to say we believe survivors, we believe survivors, we believe survivors. And they're saying Hillary Clinton is sending out a dog whistle. So I thought maybe we should play the interview that Hillary Clinton gave to Christiane Amanpour and what she was talking about. What Hillary Clinton was talking about was the fact that the Republicans have attacked small d democracy 8 ways to Sunday, especially when they, as a majority in the Senate, denied the President of the United States the ability to appoint a Supreme Court nominee by the name of Merrick Garland, that everything that the Republicans have done is to dismantle the actual democracy. So here's how the interview began.
What precisely about democracy has you worried?
Well, really 5 things. And I started worrying at his inauguration, both because of what he said in his speech, which I thought was defiant, defensive, dystopian. It wasn't a speech to bring together people who had not supported him, but instead it was aimed, as I say in my book, what happened at the white nationalist gut. And then over the course of now 2 years nearly since the election, we have seen him degrading the rule of law. Mm-hmm. We have seen him delegitimizing our elections. Mm-hmm. We have seen him spreading corruption, both him personally, his family business, others in his administration. We have seen him also attacking truth and facts, even reason itself, and fundamentally trying to undermine our national unity. So I was hopeful. I wanted to give him a chance. I think every new president deserves a chance, but every month that's gone by, I've become more and more worried about how he governs and how he treats people.
Dog whistle, everybody. Dog whistle. Call to violence. Call to arms. What Democrats would never do a call to arms because you freaky GOP people, you MAGA people, have all the guns. It makes no sense. Okay, so this is how it started. And then she was asked about these Kavanaugh hearings, okay?
Last night, President Trump had a sort of ceremony for now Justice Kavanaugh at the White House, and he apologized on behalf of the American people for the immense amount of pain and harm that he said that the judge had been put through by this system. What do you make of that? And what message, including the president's mocking of Christine Blasey Ford for her allegations, what message does that send to women? And remember, women went for President Trump in 2016. White women.
White women. All women went for me. And look, white women have been voting against Democratic presidential candidates for decades now. The white vote has only been won twice in the last 60 years, my husband being one of the two, Lyndon Johnson being the other. So it's not a surprise. It's a disappointment, but it's not a surprise. What was done last night in the White House was a political rally. It further undermined the image and integrity of the court. And that troubles me greatly. It saddens me because our judicial system has been viewed as one of the main pillars of our constitutional government. So I don't know how people are going to react to it. I think given our divides, it will pretty much fall predictably between those who are for and those who are against.
Right.
But the president's been true to form. He has insulted, attacked, demeaned women throughout the campaign, really for many years leading up to the campaign, and he's continued to do that inside the White House.
Call to arms, everybody. Call to everybody, you know, get your bazooka. All right, this is the relevant part. This is Hillary Clinton being asked by Christiana Amanpour about the Supreme Court being off limits to Barack Obama during the last year of his presidency.
Do you see any way, even a conservative thing who I was speaking of yesterday said the only way to repair America is to try to get back to some civility and to try to make it that even if we have political disagreements, we're not going to war with each other. We're not trying to destroy each other.
Well, certainly I would love to see us return to civility, listening to one another, working out our differences. That is not the Republican Party that exists today, and that is certainly not the administration that we have in power right now. When the Republican Senate denied the right of President Obama to have his nominee for the Supreme Court, Merrick Garland, heard.
I think you even wrote that they stole a justice from the Democratic Party.
I think they did. I mean, to keep a Supreme Court seat open for a year, to deny a distinguished jurist, they could have voted him down.
Right.
They could have said, well, for ideological reasons, philosophical reasons, we're not going to vote for him. But no, they stonewalled. And that was such a breach of Senate ethics and the constitutional responsibility of the Senate to advise and consent on nominations, that you cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and/or the Senate, that's when civility can start again. But until then, the only thing that the Republicans seem to recognize and respect is strength. And you heard how the Republican members, led by Mitch McConnell, the president, really demeaned the confirmation process, insulted and attacked not only Dr. Ford, but women who were speaking out. You know, look, I remember Republican operatives shutting down the voting in Florida in 2000.
Me too.
I remember the swift voting of John Kerry. I remember the things that even the Republican Party did to John McCain in 2000. I remember what they did to me for 25 years, the falsehoods, the lies, which unfortunately people believe because the Republicans have put a lot of time, money, and effort in promoting them. So when you're dealing with an ideological party that is driven by the lust for power, that is funded by corporate interests who want a government that does its bidding, it's hard. You can be civil, but you can't overcome what they intend to do unless you win elections.
Ooh, that's so scary. Ooh, that's a call to arms. That's, ooh, we've become a dangerous, unhinged mob because we don't like the fact that law and order, the fact that this country has been pulled apart by people who literally lust for power to the point where they will do anything to get it, anything to keep it, including using foreign intelligence apparatus, the Israelis, the Russians, Facebook, hacking DNC emails, releasing them through an intelligence operation that's closely aligned with Russia, known as WikiLeaks. I mean, and we're supposed to just, be very, very calm about that. We are. They will chant all night long, okay? And we will vote all day long, November 6th. That's what she said about civility, that they are systematically destroying the democratic process, that the Supreme Court picked our president in 2000, never forget that, that they attacked John Kerry and his record in Vietnam, that they used to, remember the flip-flops? John Kerry was for the $86 billion before he was against it. Then he flip-flop. Look at Donald Trump. My God, these people can be on every side of an issue depending on who they're trying to enrage. And now they promote all kinds of white supremacy, all kinds of racism, all kinds of hatred in order to distract you from the fact that they're stealing.
It's the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Here's where Donald Trump is going tonight.
If you don't think the Republicans are fired up for the midterms, then you don't know Erie, Pennsylvania. One of those guys that's fired up is David. David, you say Democrats fight on, quote, a battlefield of hatred. Those are bold words. Why do you say that?
Because they want to drag us down through the mud to the brink of anarchy and create another civil war in their quest for total domination, which is the credo for socialism.
That basically said it all. David, thank you. Sir. Denise, when it comes to the so-called blue wave, you think some Democrats will actually vote Republican because of the way the Democrats handled the Kavanaugh nomination. Why?
Because I think that they were completely wrong in what they did, and I think that people will see that the due process was not taken, and it wasn't fair. And what we did to this family, Kavanaugh and his family, was completely unfair. And these are real people, and we have to treat them like that.
You also told me that you are embarrassed for women. What do you mean by that?
Oh, my God.
Because we still have to believe, again, like in due process. And I'm embarrassed that a woman believes that she should be believed without any kind of backup and any kind of proof.
Denise, thank you for your time. We're going to hop on over to this table, and Scott... You can clap. You can clap for Denise. That's fine. Scott, you said this is not the Democratic Party that you grew up with. Why?
They're not for the working man anymore. They're not for the middle class. They just seem to be all out for power. And
you even went so far to tell me that you think this is a battle between good and evil. Those are harsh words.
Absolutely.
Why do you say that?
You can't even have a conversation with a liberal. They're so stuck on a railroad track going one way that I mean, look what they did to Kavanaugh. Right. If that's not diabolical, I don't know what is.
All right, Scott, thank you for your time. And Tony has a message to his fellow Republicans who maybe are thinking of sitting out the midterms because, the midterms, it's just midterms. What's your message to them?
Well, everything important in life is decided by those that show up, period.
All right. That's it from Erie.
Oh, my God. Yeah, these are the geniuses that are deciding our future. These are the people who keep voting against their own best interest. I mean, obviously, conservatism is a racket. They steal your money. They give it to themselves. The donors give a piece of it back to the party. And this endless cycle of ripping you off continues. They've been in power since 2009. It's been, a long, long haul. They crashed the economy. They took us to war. 17 years later, we're still at freaking war. We just don't pay any attention to it. The president does 2 minutes of hate every single night now on the television, tells us that fact checkers and the press are the enemy of the people, that Hillary Clinton has some call to arms that we ought to, due process for Kavanaugh, which wasn't taken according to this woman. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't, because 40 witnesses were not interviewed. In fact, Kavanaugh wasn't interviewed. In fact, Christine Blasey Ford wasn't interviewed. In fact, Deborah Ramirez gave 10 people, and the FBI never contacted them. Why? Because the White House ordered them not to stand down. To stand down. Don't complete a criminal investigation. Don't do it. Don't ask them. Don't interview them. Don't do anything. I mean, it's just so, this is so sad. And then they tell you over and over again, just wait. It's going to trickle down. It's going to trickle down. But what they're doing is peeing on you. They pee on your entire life. They pee on your American dream. They pee on your children. They make sure that your children are in debt to the tune of $100,000 without owning anything, just to educate themselves. These are some sick, maniacal racketeers. They run this racket over and over again. And the president will stand there and say, oh, there's a fight between good and evil, and the Democrats are evil, and what they did to this man, it was pure evil. No, what the man did was evil. What the FBI did in ignoring what the man did and ignoring the witnesses provided by the women was evil. And he's got his people, saying doublespeak. Truth is fiction, war is peace, slavery is freedom. It's just so unbelievable. And only a P.T. Barnum could do this. Only the best con man in the world. And he is the best con man in the world. I mean, I'm sure there's another one that will come down the pike. But this one that we have now is just amazingly effective in selling people bullcrap. Hillary Clinton is calling it's a call to arms. It's a dog whistle. All she said was, this man keeps attacking small d democracy. He's now put this guy up into the Supreme Court. He's got the judiciary, he's got the House, he's got the Senate, and nobody's life is getting any better. He's not doing anything. And the Democrats made their entire platform about working people, about unions and belonging to one, and how that can, raise wages for even people who don't belong to unions, how it could set a 40-hour work week, it could ban child labor, it could cause you to earn overtime after your 40th hour. And they got all, hip to this. So they started breaking up the unions and then only hiring you for 39 hours. And somehow people keep voting for this plan to limit you to 39 hours, to not raise the minimum wage in decades, to ban unions. The last Supreme Court decision was the Janus decision that said that a man can benefit from a union shop, but he doesn't have to pay dues. He can get all the benefits without paying any dues, without being part of it. They did that that was service, public service people. That was their union, the last surviving union, public employees. I mean, these people are diabolical. Just unbelievable. They think of freaking everything. And where the out of control mob?
How about Senator Feinstein? That's another beauty. That's a beauty. Did you leak the documents? What? No, I didn't. Did we leak? Did we leak? No, we didn't. Did you ever see No. She goes, no. He just said, no, we didn't leak.
Due process. An 85-year-old senator they want to throw in jail. I mean, this is madness. This is absolute divisive madness. And the only reason why people are willing to do this, I really believe this with all my heart, is because they're in so much pain that if they couldn't project the pain out to somebody else, if they couldn't, hate, if they couldn't put all their energy into screaming and chanting, lock her up and screw due process and ice baby or whatever, then they would feel their own pain. And we know what happens when people feel their own pain. They self-medicate and you get an opioid Whoops. And a good chunk of the opioid epidemic can be traced directly to sexual assault, sexual abuse, being raped as a young woman, being raped as a child, being raped as a young boy. I mean, this is what people are self-medicating to get away from, their own pain. So this is a useful tool. They don't have to look in. They could look out and project all this anger onto somebody else, so that it's kind of like a big, bubble that they can stay in and not feel their own pain. I get it. I totally understand it. But it's so wrong. And it's evil. And it's leading down a path of complete and utter dictatorship and fascism and oligarchy, and the theft just continues. The transfer of wealth from people who actually produce something to people who don't. It's endless. Rhonda, I was thinking about you since the beginning of the show.
I heard you, and I was trying not to call because I have a presentation I'm working on that for tonight. but when you showed the people from the diner, I had to call you and tell you I don't know none of those people. I don't know.
Where do they find these people? Where do they actually unearth them?
Listen, this area of the country, specifically Erie and Meadville, which is 30 miles down the road where I used to live, it is unlike any other place that I have ever been. Not just the ways in which people are actually stratified, but the ways in which culturally they internalize these stratifications, right? The economic welfare of the vast majority of people in Erie and Crawford County is poor. It is. But year after year after year, they vote to reelect these people who sit in these offices sometimes for decades and do very little while they're in those positions. They keep doing it because they get a lot of the racial animus that's passed down to them. And the feeling that, well, at least I'm better than these people. That is rampant here. Erie is the worst city in the United States for African Americans. The worst, number one. We fall number one on a lot of these really poor indices like job growth, et cetera. But let me tell you what, they're scared. The Republicans are scared because Trump is coming today because Mike Kelly is in trouble. Last night, there was a debate between Mike Kelly and Randi Nicola, the Democrat who's running against him. Listen, Randy, when I tell you Mike Kelly doesn't show up to anything, that's not an exaggeration. He does not come to anything in this district, and he is in trouble, and they all know it. We have a possibility because we changed because the court upheld the new the new districting map. We have a chance in Erie County to go blue again. So they're all running scared, and that's why he's here tonight.
I see. Well, all Republicans are absentee landlords. I got to tell you, even Susan Collins, she does not live in Maine. She lives in Washington. They're terrified of their own people. That's why no more town halls. They try to hide, and this is why they're so completely outraged that people are showing up to try and say, I am a survivor of sexual assault, or I'm working my fingers to the bone. I have 3 jobs and I can't afford health care, and my child has a pre-existing condition. This is why they don't show up to the town halls anymore. They're terrified of their own people.
Let me make a. I was just going to say. You gotta go.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say that, look, my position is the same as James Baldwin's. James Baldwin was very observant about all this racial hatred, and he understood that being so full of hate and so fearful of, other races or other religions or whatever it is serves a purpose, and that purpose is to mask your own pain. That's all hatred is. It's a giant mask for the pain that they would feel if they had their come to Jesus.
Well, and okay, once again, you prove why I love you, because James Baldwin is one of my favorite writers.
Yep.
But here's the other thing: when you were talking about people's lived pain and rape, etc. When I lived in Meadville, I was a therapist. I worked with survivors of sexual assault and childhood sexual assault and rape. At the time, Crawford County had the third highest incest rate in the state.
Oh, God.
This is a problem in this area as well, and so what people who are survivors of it have been told to do is bury it, right? Because it is your fault. If you are property anyway, and they acquiesce because they have no other ways to support themselves, to get out of these poor positions. Gender roles are, they're rampant here, like, old-fashioned gender roles. And so we have an opportunity to change this. So a lot of people that I know are not showing up to protest. There are a lot of people I do know who are going to protest the Trump rally. But a whole lot of other people have decided that instead of protesting the Trump rally, they're going to canvass to get out the vote tonight.
Awesome.
And I think both of those things are good.
They are.
You
they are.
Just hit them on all fronts.
What's much more important is that people understand that on November 6th, they have the exact same amount of power as all of these absentee landlords, and that they need to exercise that power, use that power, because their absentee landlords were, they have no, qualms about using their power. So yeah, it's the one equalizing day. But I get all that. I get the incest and the rape and the and the sex, the stuff it down and pretend it didn't happen and go along to get along. And this is why you see people cutting themselves, right? It's the same thing as going to the 2-minute hate tonight, because as long as the pain isn't internalized, you can live. So they'll do anything to keep from feeling the inside pain. That means hating you or hating women or hating, Hillary or whatever it is, and it prevents them from having to feel the real pain of their lives. That's a sad thing, but it's the truth. That's what cutting is about, and that's what opioid is. The abuse. It's about keeping yourself out of pain.
It really is. And when you have no other options, you do what you do. You do what you can to survive.
Yes.
I'm not excusing hatred, but I do understand why people are doing some of the things that they're doing.
Me too. Me too. Because you're brilliant. Thank you. I thought about you all day today. Just so you know.
I'm staying away.
I'm so glad you called. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
All
love you, girl.
I love you. Go canvas.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Yeah. This is what the Lunatic Fringe does. We canvass. We go door to door. We get people registered. We give them rides to the polls. We do souls to the polls. We vote. We get our friends to vote. We get young people interested. We get young people to vote. We talk about their issues. And of course, their issue is their student loan debt. That's one of it. And the other one is guns in school. The fact that their parents, they know they're going to have to take care of their parents on top of all the... Listen, we got more than a good shot here. We do. But they're pulling out all the stops, man. They are just trying to fire up their Al-Qaeda. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just speak Arab? Yes, I did, because Al-Qaeda is the Arabic word for the base. Did you know that? Yeah. Like I said, these are like the angry hordes. These are like ISIS trying to tell you that they're for civility, right? I mean, when these people, this president, this man with the worst comb-over in the history of comb-overs, stands there and tries to sell them that we're the uncivilized masses, we're the mob, it's like watching, the Norwegian hordes talk about peace and love. Bye.